Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley, or Brazos UU for short. My name is Molly Hagan Ward. My pronouns are she, her, hers, they, their, them, and I am your worship assistant today. I come to this church because I've always felt welcomed and encouraged and supported, and I believe this makes me a better person. And I also believe that together we are better. Welcome, visitors, free thinkers, and free spirits. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we celebrate and welcome all people, regardless of sexual orientation, race, age, gender identity, immigration status, ability, or belief. So whoever you are, wherever you're from, wherever you are on life's journey, you're welcome and encouraged here. Honoring the value of spiritual freedom and diversity, we have no statement of doctrine. As a covenanted community, we agree to a set of principles that we all follow as we search for truth and how it applies to ethical living. Unitarian Universalism is a faith of covenant, not creed. This means that Unitarian Universalists seek and use wisdom from many diverse sources. We encourage everyone to visit our website, brazos-uu.org, which is our digital home in this time of great transition in our world. During this time of pandemic and in the midst of our planned building project, the website and these weekly services are our only home. To learn more about our community and what is happening, you're always welcome to join our email list for updates from our weekly eCast and our monthly newsletter. And you can also find us on social media by searching UUCBV. For information about this, you can write our administrator at admin@brazos-uu.org. If you might like to contribute your musical talents, if you have a great story to share about your life's journey, or if you have a passion for social justice, we would love to hear from you. If you're interested in getting involved, you can find plenty of information on our website. To join a meeting and have your voice heard by our members, you can find links to all of our meetings on our interactive calendar at brazos-uu.org/calendar. Our service today will be led by our very own Reverend Christian Schmidt.
Why do we gather here? What's the point? After all, the earth will turn, the darkness will ebb and flow, and our days will continue on without this place, without this time. So why do we gather? Couldn't we all be sleeping or taking in the sights, making pancakes? Maybe some of us are. Instead, we have gathered again to make this place holy with our presence and our love, to make this place home with our hard work and our hearts. It is an ancient thing to build a home, even virtually, for the holy, to create this technological temple in which we may find meaning, or not. But our temple lives beyond these walls, beyond this foundation, in these lives we live and the love we give. Come, gather with us this morning and rededicate the temple of your heart to justice, mercy, hope, and love. Come, let us worship together.
Thank you, Reverend Christian. I invite you to light your own chalice if you have one, as I light our chalice today. Please say our chalice lighting words with me. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and in celebration of the life of truth and meaning we share together. Now, please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Today, we have a special video to help us light a menorah as we honor Hanukkah, which is being celebrated by Jewish people this week.
Good morning. Last night, families around the world lit Hanukkah candles, lighting 3 candles for the 3rd night of the festival. So I bring this morning the practice of lighting candles to this Unitarian Universalist congregation, where many of us, like myself, have a Jewish background or want to honor the Jewish holidays. The rabbis of the Talmud, well, they argued a lot, and one of the things they argued over was how one should light the Hanukkah lights. One rabbi and his school of thought that each night you should add an extra light, that on the first night you light 1 candle or lamp, and the second night you light 2, and so on. Another school of thought said, no, you should start with 8 and get fewer and fewer as it goes on. So from 8 candles and lamps or lights to 7 and 6. Well, as you may have guessed, the school of thought about adding light won over time, that's what we do. And the rationale is that we should be increasing light. We should be increasing joy in the world. We should be bringing more light to darkness. I'm taking that to heart this year, that in a year where things have been hard, let's add light. Let's add joy. Let's add wonder. So whatever that looks like for you, may this be a season of increasing light and joy, warmth and connection during long nights. I'll sing the Hanukkah blessings in Hebrew, the first 2 blessings over the candle, and the third for the first time in a year where one does something. And since this is the first Sunday this year where we're lighting Hanukkah candles together, we'll sing that one as well. And following that, we'll say the English translation. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa nisim lavotenu bayamim hahem ba'azman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'hechianu v'kimanu Egianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings moments of holiness to our lives through the ritual of lighting the Hanukkah lights. Blessed are you, source of all, who brings our attention to miracles from ages past to this very moment. Blessed are you, source of all, who has given us life, sustained us, and brought us to this very moment. And let us say, Amen. Happy Hanukkah.
Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light did die. Light one candle for the pain they endured, when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice, justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our years. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those who are suffering the pain we learned long ago. Light one candle for only believing that anger will tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together with peace as the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. One is the memory that's valued so highly, we keep it alive in that flame. What's the commitment to those who have died, when we cry out they've not died in vain? Have we come this far, always believing that justice would somehow prevail? This is the burden, and this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears.
Our time for all ages this week is a story by one of my colleagues, the Reverend Jason Cook. It's called The Everlasting Hanukkah Buffet. He writes, "My Aunt Lee knew how to put on a Hanukkah buffet. I mean, she really knew how to put on a Hanukkah buffet. There was no doubt she knew her way around any casserole that had ever tickled humankind's palate, and there was sweet kugel and beef brisket and latkes and rugelach and blintzes and on and on. And this buffet would appear at her home during Hanukkah, dishes lined up neatly across the island of an immaculate kitchen that never betrayed a sign there was any effort that went into the process. There she was, always stylishly dressed in something that shimmered, standing next to my Uncle Al in his corduroy bow tie. That glorious buffet spread out in front of us, while the candles flickered on the menorah, the lights twinkled on the Christmas tree, because, while Jewish, Aunt Lee and Uncle Al embraced the festive sparkle of Christmas decorations, too. I took that buffet for granted when I was a little kid. I knew it would just be there. The food as familiar as the back of my hand, the taste of each dish forever associated with memories of Hanukkah and Christmas. And no matter how many family members and friends showed up, there was always enough. The buffet never ran out. There was enough food for seconds and thirds, and by the time we were stuffed, the buffet disappeared as easily as it had come, fading into the background. I look back now and think this bit of magic that Aunt Lee conjured up each Hanukkah was very much in keeping with the Hanukkah story of the lamp and its replenishing oil. That when we think we don't have enough, we still do. But of course, like the Hanukkah story, if I shift the lens, I look at Aunt Lee's miraculous, everlasting buffet, I realize that, of course, it wasn't magical at all. She made the magic. The neat line of casseroles and silver chafing dishes was the product of much labor that came before, labor we didn't see or recognize in that moment. And there was always enough because Aunt Lee made sure there was enough. A second or third dish of kugel, more latkes waiting in the wings, or for whatever holiday hungry traveler might show up. I think for me, the lesson of that Hanukkah buffet is this: abundance is ours. There is enough for everyone, but only if we are intentional in sharing that abundance. Aunt Lee died last year, and Uncle Al is busy playing cards in an assisted living facility these days. But the buffet, it belongs to all of us. It's the responsibility of all of us to enjoy, to appreciate, to share in all its miraculous, everlasting abundance.
If we were having worship service in person, this is the time that we would pass the basket. This church shares the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. This month, we are proud to support the Brazos Valley Food Bank. Because of the economic crisis caused by the pandemic, the need for food in our community is great, and that need will only grow. Please be as generous as you can. If you wish to make an offering, you can mail your check, or for your convenience, you can donate online. On our homepage at brazos-uu.org, you can find our mailing address at the bottom. At the top, you can find a Donate Here tab to click to find donation options. We'll provide the donate instructions in the chat box now. May each of us look into our hearts, how much love, how much generosity, how much faith, how much gratitude, how much hope is there. We give thanks for these gifts we've given, for those we receive, and for each other.
prayer from Elizabeth M. Strong. We are in the midst of the season of celebration. Celebrations of the birth of new hope, of the festival of lights, of the triumph of freedom. The darkness of the year is almost beginning to ease. Soon the time of light will grow longer. We have gathered with anticipation of hope for peace on earth and in our homes. We have gathered this season of celebration seeking comfort to soften the pain and the losses our lives have suffered in this fast retreating year. We have gathered to worship joyfully within this season of celebrations with the tenderness of love, family, friends around us. Let us be embraced by the strength and power of this sacred space that we bring as we create beloved community. Let us joy and sorrow join in the fullness of our living. Let the power and strength we embody join us together as we move through the seasons of celebration and soon into a new year, a new vision with hope for peace on earth. Now let us join in a time of silence. Amen. We take now time apart to celebrate those joys and sorrows and concerns that are most on our hearts and minds this week. If you have something to share, please do so in the chat box at any time so that we may all hold it with you. I lift up some particular concerns this week for all those around the world facing natural disasters, for those who are short on money in these lean economic times, for those hoping for stimulus packages to be passed that all of us might get some relief. We lift up also all those who are suffering with the coronavirus and those who have died from it. For those whose family has been hit by the virus, for those who have concern about their children or other loved ones, and especially to all essential workers who present themselves daily, possibly to harm. We remember that Black lives really do matter as we strive for justice, equity, and anti-racism. So please take a moment now to share your particular concern, joy, or sorrow, so that we might hold it with you, that we might celebrate, that we might hold you in a tough time, that this community can be a part of your support system. For all that is shared in that chat box, and for all those things that go unspoken or unwritten, we hold them in our hearts and minds today.
Hanukkah by Reverend Lynn Ungar. Come down from the hills, Declare the fighting done. Be bold, declare victory. Even when the temple is wrecked and the tyrants have not retreated, only coiled back like a snake, prepared to strike again. Come down. Try to remember a life gentled by daily acts of domestic faith. The pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set in calm expectation that when the sun sets, we will still be here. Come down and settle. Unlearn the years of hiding. Light fires that can be seen for miles, that dance and spark and warm the frozen marrow. Set lamps in the window. Declare your presence, your loyalties, the truths for which you do not expect to have to die. It would take a miracle, you say, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. I say, you are the stuff from which such miracles are made.
I wrote this song 30 years ago so my friend Pat LaManna could give it this contemporary message. Gather in spirit, not face to face. Let's do what we can to flatten the curve. Wash your hands often and don't touch your face. This virus is something no one deserves. Gather on Skype, gather on Zoom, gather by phone with family and friends. Gather online, but don't leave your room. Let's all stay safe until this crisis ends. Gather on Facebook, but not for too long. There's so many ways to sweeten the time. Take up crocheting, write a new song, read a good book, bake brownies sublime. Gather on Skype, gather on Zoom, gather by phone with family and friends. Gather online, but don't leave your room. Let's all stay safe until this crisis ends. Gather in spirit, pray for the scared, the sick and the poor, the lonely at home. Count all your blessings and reach out and share. Let everyone know that they're not alone. Gather in Skype, gather on Zoom, gather by phone with family and friends. Gather online, but don't leave your room. Let's all stay safe until this crisis ends.
I love this morning's reading from the Reverend Lynn Unger. Come down from the hills, she says, and declare the fighting done. We've been talking a lot about Hanukkah today, but perhaps I should give a little background about the holiday. It's a relatively minor one in the Jewish calendar, but has risen to prominence, especially in North America, where it roughly coincides with Christmas and other winter holidays. The holiday commemorates the Maccabean revolt and a miracle that happened during it. This was some 2,160 years ago, and a small group of Jews who lived up in the hills fought off foreign invaders, retook the temple, and tried to relight the sacred fire. But they only found enough oil to burn for one night, and knowing that it would take at least 8 days to make new oil and purify it for this, they debated about whether they should relight the temple only for it to go out a day later, or if they should wait until more oil could be made. In the end, they lit the fire, and miraculously the oil lasted for all 8 days until more could be made. Is the story true? There is truth in it, certainly. But again, I like our reading this morning because it gives a different perspective on it. Come down from the hills and declare the fighting done. We're not there yet, are we? I don't feel like it's time to declare the fighting done or to start the peace. Because when is it ever? Many of us, myself included, are committed to peace. I want to see peace throughout the world. Now, we might have specific commitments about how we're going to do that and whether some violence, sadly, might be a part of achieving the world we dream about ultimately. I'm not here to have that discussion today, though that's a worthwhile one. Today, I think of the story of Hanukkah. Another story of Hanukkah. The one we are often told, something like I told you a few minutes ago, doesn't come so much from history, though there is some history in it, or even from the scriptural witness. It comes as much from the marketing department of the companies trying to sell things. Because we hear about the presents, the 8 nights of candle, and if we really listen, we might hear something about oil and a miracle. And all of this is true, as I have said, or at least has little bits of truth in it. A strong aura of what the TV satirist Stephen Colbert calls truthiness. It feels like it's true, whether it's actually true or not. So I want to expand and complicate the story. So again, let's go back to the 2nd century BCE, some 2,200 years ago almost now, to what is part of modern-day Israel, but was then known as Judea, a mountainous, arid region south and east of Jerusalem. Now, the history is a little complicated, much more so than I said a minute ago, but it's important, so I want to give it. It's important to have a little understanding of the society of the day. It's important to know that this was then part of the huge area that Alexander the Great had conquered, and in this part of that area, one of his generals had been put in charge and had founded what became known as the Seleucid dynasty. That is, a dynasty of Greek-speaking rulers of that area. Now, over time, some Jews in the area learned to speak Greek. They had grown friendly, or at least accommodating, to the Seleucid rulers, and they had some measure of power and control because of that relationship. Other Jews, especially those from lower social classes or in more rural areas, resisted this because they were forced to pay tribute to those rulers but didn't see any real advantages from the situation. This is oversimplified, certainly, but it's true. And after a lot of conflicts and some court intrigue and various arguments about whether it was okay for Greek gods to also be worshipped by the Jewish people, and then there was a prohibition against many Jewish ritual practices, a revolt broke out. First, a priest named Mattathias took a stand against that prohibition of Jewish practices and thereby a stand against the Seleucid ruler. He and his sons, especially one named Judas, organized the people to fight Seleucid armies. Mattathias died shortly after the revolt began, but his son Judah took over and earned the nickname Maccabee, which most people believe comes from the Hebrew word for hammer. That is, he was such a powerful fighting force. The family then took this as their last name, which is why we sing and talk about the Maccabees at this time of year. Now, it's important to remember the class implications here. Though the Maccabees did come from the priestly class, most of their followers were poor farmers from the hills who were angry not just at the Seleucids, but also at the elite Jewish classes that had aligned with them. The Maccabees, employing what we might today call guerrilla tactics of surprise and ambush, repeatedly defeated Seleucid forces. Now, the next part of the story you may know. The Maccabees drove the Seleucids from Jerusalem. They recaptured the sacred temple, which was in disarray. There they found just a bit of already consecrated oil, and they relit the eternal flame with it, knowing that they didn't have any more oil and that it would take 8 days to make new. The oil, which should have been enough to last one night, miraculously lasted for 8, long enough to make more oil, and so keep the eternal flame lit. Now, I'm struck by a lot of things in the story, and it's clear that the rich symbolism in it has been appealing to people for thousands of years. There's the miracle of the oil, which lasted. There's a story about restoring the Jewish people to their religious ways, a theme that appears throughout the scriptures, and about ruling themselves. If you're the type who finds military campaigns interesting, it's a good case study in how an overmatched side can still ultimately be victorious. And some of us, and those we know, celebrate Hanukkah this year. I'm thinking about what a strange year this one is. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We have a very important election just behind us, or rather still continuing, especially in Georgia, where runoffs have captivated the nation. I read a great reflection, too, from Rabbi Seth Goldstein. He said that as Hanukkah is approaching this year, he identifies most strongly in the story with that little vial of oil. That in many ways, all of us are being asked to shine for 8 days on 1 day's worth of energy. I don't feel like that every day, but I do on some days for sure. I don't feel like I have all the energy my children deserve from me, or my spouse, or even what my work deserves, or what I deserve. There doesn't feel like enough this year, and I'm not talking about the material stuff, though for some of us, that's a painful reality too. I'm so worried about all the people potentially facing eviction in the middle of winter unless they get help in this terrible, terrible economic situation. Now, I'm not here waiting for a miracle, and I'm reaching out to the support system I have, attempting to lower expectations, especially the ones I have for myself. But I don't know what to do truly. I don't think there's an easy answer, except for all of us to do our best to forgive one another when we fail, to lift up those who we see are struggling, even ourselves. And for me, I'm going to sit once again with this story and with so many other stories we tell this time of year. Stories with unlikely heroes, with reclaiming the deepest parts of who we are, perhaps even looking for small miracles. Maybe that's enough in this 2020, as we hang on for better things ahead in the new year to come. May it be so. Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom, Shalom. Lehitraot, Lehitraot, Shalom, Shalom. Goodbye, my friends, be safe, my friends, have peace, have peace. Till we meet again, till we meet again, have peace, have peace. Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom, Shalom. Lehitraot, Lehitraot, Shalom, Shalom.
Now, please join me in extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again. Thank you.
Friends, may this time be a blessing to all of us. May we rejoice in the places we find light this season, and may we be bringers of light to all those who might need it. Our worship has ended, and our service begins.